Imagine the world 50 millennia ago. The sun has dipped below a horizon untainted by the hum of electricity or the glow of smog, leaving behind a darkness so absolute it feels heavy. You are huddled with your kin around a flickering hearth. There is no Netflix to distract you, no digital pings to demand your attention, and no existential dread regarding an overflowing inbox. There is only the crackle of dry wood, the biting chill of the night air, and a thick, acrid plume of gray smoke curling directly into your nostrils. At some point in this prehistoric silence, one of your ancestors squinting through watery eyes had a thought that would alter the course of human history. Wait, what if I did that on purpose? This is the sprawling, strange biography of how our species discovered the act of smoking. We aren't just talking about the modern cigarette, the artisanal cigar, or that coworker who lingers too long by the office back door. We are tracing the lineage of the very first time a human being intentionally pulled the essence of a burning plant into their lungs. It is a habit that may be woven into our DNA, a desire so primal it predates the very concept of civilization. The evidence for this evolutionary quirk is nothing short of staggering. To understand smoking, we must first understand fire, the original catalyst. Fire has been the silent partner in the human saga for 1,000,000 years. In the depths of the Wonderwork Cave in South Africa, archaeologists unearthed the charred remains of plant ash and bone fragments dating back 1,000,000 years. This wasn't the chaotic aftermath of a lightning strike. It was a sustained, controlled flame, kept alive in the heart of a cavern. The creatures tending this fire weren't even times Homo sapiens times, yet they were times Homo erectus. Our heavy-browed, smaller-brained cousins sat in those same smoky shadows, cooking meat, warding off predators, and breathing in the byproduct of combustion every single day for hundreds of generations. For them, wood smoke wasn't a pollutant, it was the atmosphere of home. But the story takes a sharper turn when we consider what exactly was being burned. When you ignite organic matter, you aren't just creating heat, you are unlocking a volatile cocktail of chemicals. Depending on the flora thrown into the flames, you might release alkaloids, terpenes, and psychoactive compounds that speak directly to the human nervous system. In all likelihood, our ancestors were accidentally getting high around the campfire for eons. They would find themselves feeling an inexplicable wave of euphoria or a sudden sharpening of the senses, unaware that the plants they were using for fuel were actually potent neurochemicals in disguise. This isn't a fringe hypothesis. Anthropologists have long argued that early humans in the lush corridors of Africa and Asia were constantly exposed to the smoke of wild cannabis and times nicotiana, times species. Our brains, remarkably, evolved with an endocannabinoid system, a network of receptors that regulate mood, appetite, and memory. These receptors didn't appear because of the plant, but when that first prehistoric human inhaled the smoke of a wild hemp bush, their brain didn't panic. It recognized the signal. It was as if an ancient lock had finally found its key. That moment, that first deliberate hit, taken from a burning pile of herbs, was the true genesis of smoking. It wasn't a corporate strategy. It was a pleasant accident that felt good enough to repeat until it became a ritual. However, we must distinguish between accidental exposure and intentional cultivation. If we look at the hard archaeological record, the roots of the habit are deep. In the high, thin air of the Pamir Mountains in Central Asia, researchers discovered a burial site from 500 BC. They found wooden braziers, essentially ancient censers containing stones that had been heated until they glowed. Beside them lay the residue of cannabis plants with high THC concentrations. This wasn't wild hemp used for rope. This was the good stuff, specifically selected for its potency and placed in a ritual grave to bridge the gap between the living and the dead. While 2,500 years sounds like a long time, we have to remember the stone tool bias. Stone lasts forever, but a wooden pipe or a pouch of dried leaves rots away in a few centuries. The absence of a physical pipe from 10,000 years ago doesn't mean smoking didn't exist. It just means the earth reclaimed the evidence. Consider the Herodotus problem. The famous Greek historian once described the Scythians, nomadic warriors of the Eurasian steppe, who would perform vapor baths. They would retreat into small, felt-lined tents, throw hemp seeds onto red-hot stones, and inhale the billowing clouds until they howled with pleasure. For centuries, scholars dismissed this as a tall tale. Then, archaeologists started digging up Scythian mounds and found exactly what he described: bronze braziers, charred seeds, and the lingering ghost of a 2,000-year-old party. Then there is tobacco, the plant most synonymous with the habit today. Native to the Americas, it remained a total mystery to Europe, Africa, and Asia until the late 15th century. When Columbus's crew stepped onto the beaches of the Caribbean in 1492, they were stunned to see the indigenous Taino people walking around with glowing sticks made of dried leaves, exhaling smoke through their noses like dragons. But for the Taino and the tribes of the Amazon and the Great Plains, tobacco wasn't a smoke break. It was a sacred bridge. It was used to seal treaties, heal the sick, and communicate with the Great Spirit. To blow smoke on a guest was a blessing of the highest order. The shaman didn't smoke to pass the time. He smoked to open a channel to the divine. The smoke was a messenger, rising upward to carry prayers to the heavens. The idea of tobacco as a casual, addictive, everyday commodity is a uniquely European invention and a relatively recent one. In the Americas, the history of tobacco goes back at least 3,500 years, with some chemical residues in pipes suggesting a 10,000-year lineage. In 2019, a hearth in the Great Salt Lake Desert revealed tobacco seeds from 12,000 years ago, deliberately placed in a fire by hunter-gatherers who had yet to even invent pottery. Why were they doing it? Beyond the spiritual, there is the intoxication hypothesis. Psychopharmacologist Ronald Siegel suggested that the drive to alter consciousness is the fourth drive, as fundamental as hunger, thirst, or sex. We see it in the animal kingdom: elephants getting drunk on fermented fruit, or Siberian reindeer eating hallucinogenic mushrooms and then unbelievably drinking each other's urine to recycle the compounds. If animals seek escape, why wouldn't humans? Smoking also served as the world's first portable medicine. The Ebers Papyrus from 1550 BC. Egypt describes inhaling the smoke of roasted herbs to soothe the lungs. Ancient Indian Ayurvedic texts detail times dhumapana, or smoke drinking, a sophisticated medical practice using pipes filled with specific medicinal blends to balance the body's energies. In a world before antibiotics, if a certain smoke stopped your cough or numbed your pain, it was nothing short of a miracle. Perhaps most importantly, smoking was a tool for social bonding. We are social primates. Anything that allows a group to sit together, share an experience, and synchronize their mental states has massive evolutionary value. The peace pipe, or the ritual circle, wasn't just about the plant. It was about the social glue that kept the tribe from tearing itself apart. The tragedy of this story lies in the transition from the sacred to the industrial. When tobacco hit Europe, it moved with the speed of a wildfire. By the 1600s, it was global. By the 1800s, it was a fashion statement. By the 1900s, the mass-produced cigarette turned an ancient, disciplined ritual into a predatory consumer trap. Modern tobacco executives and ancient shamans may have used the same plant, but they lived in different moral universes. One used smoke to find meaning. The other used it to manufacture addiction. The 20th century tobacco industry spent billions suppressing the fact that their product was killing the very people who used it, engineering nicotine levels to ensure that once you started, the ritual would never end. So, when did we start smoking? The truth is buried in the ash of a million lost campfires. It is as old as our mastery of fire, and perhaps as old as the cognitive leap that made us human. The ability to look at a plant and realize it can change the way you feel is a mark of intelligence, curiosity, and a deep-seated desire to transcend the mundane. Next time you catch the scent of wood smoke on a crisp autumn night, or see the embers of a bonfire glowing in the dark, remember that you are tapping into a lineage that stretches back to the dawn of our species. Fire, smoke, and breath. These are the threads of a 100,000-year-old story. We've been sitting in the dark, breathing together, and looking for visions in the rising gray plumes since the very beginning.